Hey folks, Pallet here, back with another Minecraft video. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome in. We're glad to have you. If you've seen some of my videos previously, welcome back, and I hope you all enjoy what I've got for you today. Now, most of my videos are showcasing recent builds that I've been working on, and I do have a build project that I've been spending some time on the last couple of weeks that we're going to cover a bit in this video, but I wanted to do something just a little bit different here. Since it's the end of the year, I kind of wanted to do a bit of a recap and show you what's happened in this world, where we started, where we've come, and give you a better overview of the whole project so far. Most of my videos, I'm focusing on the individual builds, and I know I'm zipping back and forth across our village quite a bit. I'm handling a lot of things by Elytra just to make them go quickly. I just wanted to give a chance for everybody to see what the whole build looks like. So, uh, what I decided to do today is start right back here at world spawn. We're almost exactly at 0, 0. I am up on top of a tree because, as you can see, this whole area is fairly wooded, and if I wasn't standing on top of the tree, you wouldn't see a whole lot. But you can see we have this nice little mountain right next to our world spawn. We've actually got a build over here that's something that my son did, and we've got just the edge of another mountain peeking over there. So when this server started, this was something that one of my daughters was hosting on our family room computer for herself, her sister, and my wife. And I saw them playing one night and just kind of was peeking over the shoulder and watching some of the adventures they were getting into. And I asked if I could join and if our son could join as well. And then after we'd been playing all five of us together for a few weeks, I migrated it over to a dedicated server so that we wouldn't have to worry about as much lag. We also wouldn't have to worry about my daughter being logged into her account for all of us to play. So this was my younger daughter's first, I guess you could call it her starter home. Uh, Not a whole lot going on here, but we've got a cave, we've got a little storage room back here. And if we were to head down these stairs, we'd find ourselves, well, I can actually go down there, I guess. We can show you. There is a rather large cave system here that stretches all the way up through that mountain that we're reviewing from spawn, and it extends quite a ways in every direction down here. So she and my older daughter had kind of started out right around this mountain, building up their starter bases because there was a lot of space there for mining and acquiring resources. And now you can see that we've got a lot of iron golems, and those iron golems actually, I don't believe many of them were created by players. Those are naturally generated because up on top here we've got a village, and the village actually kind of gets interrupted a bit by the edges of the mountain. There are some sheer drops that have some walkways. Now you see here we've got a tunnel that goes all the way through the mountain and looks down into this chasm. And it's raining again. Let me fix that real quick. Now, I did say I wanted to walk around and not zip too much with the elytra. We're going to have to just, in the interest of time here, we're going to come up top. So this is the naturally generated village that was up on top. Not a lot of buildings to it. It was a relatively small village, and we did have some people add some basic structures up here. In fact, I'm not positive, um, I think this may have been one that my wife worked on as a way to just get a lot of beds in one place for villager breeding. And in fact, we may take advantage of that since the sun is about to set, just so we can have daylight. Now, we've got a couple of builds like this around here, and you may notice, hey, there's a villager down there. Um, that was a contribution by one of my kids to ensure that villagers with valuable trades would not get lost. They wouldn't wander off and become hard to find when we needed those trades. And we will just let the night pass. Now, coming back out here into this village, since this was the closest village to where everybody started, this tended to be where starter homes got built. So we have one right here down on the cliffside, and I know there's a safer way to get there than just dropping off. But this was I believe this was my wife's first home. And it leads down into the mountain a bit itself. There's another tunnel there, and small area down here, and a ladder going down. And then this looks down over the cliffside here, and that was, like I said, that was kind of my wife's starter home area. So we saw where my daughters had started at the very, that tiny kind of cave base. And this is where my wife started. Now my son, when he started, we have a creeper in town. We're going to stay away from him. My son started and moved off a little bit in this direction, and he built that tower that you saw. Now we can run over there and take a quick look. And I probably could have picked a safer way down this mountain, but you know, we're just going to figure it out. Fortunately, I do have feather falling on my boots. There we go. So we come down back into this wooded area where my daughters have set up some small farms, and you'll notice that there's a rail line as well as a road made out of copper. Now this rail line has been a little difficult to maintain, just mostly because of creepers blowing it up when we're out here in the middle of the night. And we've had to rebuild sections of this, especially right over here by this bamboo stand, quite a bit. So my son had built this copper road that would lead up to his tower. And we've got a nice little run boost going on here. So he has an automatic chicken breeder and cooker over there, and I apologize. We're gonna have a few mob sounds here. But this was his base with the tower here. Yeah, the tree was a gift from me. I was having some fun a while back going around to everybody's bases and dropping some mangrove trees. And within the tunnel, or within the tower here, he has multiple levels set up. So, for example, this was his entrance into the nether. I believe down here we may have a, yeah, we've got a mushroom farm. And another wart farm. Brewing area. Up top, a little higher up in the tower. It is bound and determined to rain during my video today. So let's clear that up. Alright, up here we have an enchanting room. And a bit of a Spartan bedroom. And then at the very top, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you may recognize the basic idea he was going with here. And he's also got these redstone lamps set up with the daylight sensors, so they will light up the top of the tower. And here we get a little bit of an overview of what he has built. We've got a sheep pen. A little bit further down, we've got a cow pen. And down there, the glassed-in pond is where he breeds turtles. And of course, we've got some crops for supporting the different animals. And he also had some fun experimenting with making redstone music. We can run out here. You may have noticed the sign down at the bottom of the steps that said, "Fun this way." If we... there's also a sign saying that there are cows this way, but fun this way. Tower of Wilson and food. Wilson is the name he gave his pufferfish, and everything you may notice as we look around, there are some small item frames with pufferfish in them, and then a sign saying something like "Wilson is watching you" that he has tucked away in everybody's base. So down here is where we have the turtles. We can see them swimming around. He did have to provide himself a reminder because he got Frostwalker on his boots early on, and then he realized that if he wore those when he was in dealing with his turtles, that just did not work out well. So we do have a cow pen there, and then so yeah, he was having fun with adding in some redstone music boxes here underground. Now my son is he's almost a bit of a power gamer when it comes to Minecraft. He comes in and his job is to, the job he sets himself is to build up as quickly as possible to get into the Nether, to find the strongholds, to get in and kill the Ender Dragon. He tries to get there. Not necessarily a speed gamer, but he does try to get in and get that done in pretty short order. The rest of us are a little bit slower about it all. Please ignore that tree. That's an interesting breed of tree there. But one of the things that he did while he was kind of helping the rest of us along in our progression was he built a well-lit tunnel with a rail line through the mountain, because my starter home, which I have shown in a video before, this is my starter home here, which now that I come back to it and I keep thinking, well, there are a lot of things I could improve about that, but since it was my starter home, I'm just kind of leaving it as it was. Maybe a monument to what I've learned so far as I've been playing. But I've got a nice little meeting area here and a bed, some storage, and of course, you know, the basic crafting tables. And up here, another room that evidently an Enderman has been in, with and Enderman's been up here too. Get rid of that. And a nice little balcony up here. And then access up into the attic, where I guess the Endermen have been holding parties here. So when I first built this, of course I have a horse here, I've got some sheep and cows, and I think there's a chicken in there even. And I built a few crops over here. The flaming magma blocks you see lead down into that large cave system that was under the mountain. So let's just get our bearings here. This is the mountain that we saw. Our spawn is directly on the other side from here, and way up top were my my wife's rooms that she had initially started as her base. So when I kind of came through to this side of the mountain just to get a little bit of room, I built my house here and built an access to get down into the caves and do my own mining. The rest of this was added later as I needed a little bit of expansion room. But, of course, when we started, we did have this river here, and of course none of the village was there at the time. But I wanted to have, well, it initially wasn't even really a village. It was just a walled compound, and I thought, you know, what would make that compound really secure is if there's not really an easy way to get in and out of it. I needed to have a way in and out, but I didn't want a way, a path that mobs could get in easily or that villagers could wander through. So I built a tunnel under the river, and on the compound side of things, I've got it with iron doors so that villagers would not be able to get down there and wander over to the other side of the river. Now we're going to sleep here quickly because the day is almost over. This room was my initial workroom for the entire project. And this is still where I come back to get a lot of work done, just because I've got some basic smelting setups in here. There are some others I have that handle a bit more throughput than what I've got in here, but this is just a nice, easy central location that I can get back to. Now we're going to get away from the nether portal for a moment. Now when I started this, I had this wall that you see we're standing on, and it came out over right around this building and encompassed these houses, and that was about it. It was a very small compound. I forgot I do have my wings on still. Okay. So I had a small plot for a villager farmer, and I built a nice little wishing well here, which I had to put a ladder in just in case somebody fell in. But yeah, the wall came out right along this little slope and encompassed the town, what was the kind of town church / meeting hall, and a few homes for villagers, and my workroom, and that was about it. That's where we started. I soon expanded out this side, which in my most recent video you would have seen the Christmas tree here. And I've got my Christmas frog hanging out underneath it, as well as a snowman. I expanded out on this side to make myself some more villager housing, which we can take a quick look. There's nothing super fancy about these, but we've got a couple of beds, we've got a couple of workbenches. That building was stone cutters. This building, we've got a blast furnace and lots of beds. And then we've also got bedrooms up here and a little attic space. I was really going over quantity rather than quality on these builds. I like how the outsides look. The insides are just a little bare, but they allowed me to cram in a lot of villagers in a relatively small space. Then as I kind of started walling this section in, I got to where I was doing some more, I don't know, some more decorative builds. This was the fisherman's hut that I added on, which I know I took some ideas for this from a tutorial. I did not write down at that point whose tutorial it was, I'm afraid. But I've got our fisherman's hut, and then I brought in some coral to kind of decorate the pond a little bit, and some sea lanterns to keep things lit up, hopefully to keep drowned from spawning in there. So I added this section. We're going to come up to the manor. We're going to follow this little path. And these villagers are just here for their own safety. They're not imprisoned. Those are their temporary safety quarters until I can build them a good shop. So up here, this is where I built my manor. I knew I wanted a large manor house, and I also wanted an area that I could, I don't know, kind of treat as the main trading hall of the village. So I built this with plenty of workstations for villagers to attach to, and I, again, have plenty of beds inside the manor so that we can kind of house some of the villagers up close to these workbenches, try to get them to home in on those. I still have some more detail work I want to do up here. I kind of put the manor in place and some dirt paths, but I'm thinking I'd like to maybe replace these with some more stone or decorative paving of some sort. But we've got our nice little fountain and double door leading in with a grand staircase. And again, the interior is not decorated extensively in here. I do have a few things, some nice little wall sconces, a keg. I made sure to put in a library, and I believe there is a zombie underneath us, but we have a nice library in here with a map of the village that has not been updated terribly recently. I can see that it's missing a few key things, but that's a good reminder for me to update that. And we've got a kitchen, got a small bedroom. These are small bedrooms as well, just to accommodate villagers being up here. And this is my bedroom for when I'm up here. Notice I get the nice double bed. And a little wardrobe, and plenty of storage between the barrels and the chests, and then of course having my ender chest here so that I can get access to that quickly. Now there are a couple of other things here in the manor house, and I don't want to spend too much time just looking at individual builds, but we do have a bit of a basement down here that I've been thinking of turning into some additional workshops. But again, I've been focusing more on the overall village than the interiors of the things that I built previously. So let's get back out, and we're actually going to exit the basement. I have my own entrance to the basement here. And back behind the manor and the trading square, I've got some of the farms, some of the smaller farms that I built. We've got a charcoal farm, we've got a bone meal farm. This is for auto-generating concrete blocks from concrete powder, and this is just a nice little smelter setup that I've got, which evidently needs some more coal. So, yeah, when this was probably kind of my second phase of the village, when it was starting to progress from being a walled compound to being an actual kind of living village. So I added in a cattle pen or a cattle farm over here with a llama in there to protect the cows. Little bit of wheat that I can use to feed them, to continue breeding them. And again, the wall pretty much came just straight through here and up that direction, and this was the kind of the second phase of the project. For the third phase, I started expanding out this direction, which is out to the east, and I've added the buildings at different times. Some of the closer buildings are actually newer than some of the ones further away, but this was the next section that I opened up and, kind of walled in and protected and spawn-proofed it so that I could start building and then introducing villagers out here. Introducing villagers to this section has not been as easy, just because they're all kind of attached to their beds and their workstations over in the first phase of the village. But I have managed to get a couple in here in the bakery, and I'm planning to try to get them to breed a bit, just get baby villagers around, because we do have plenty of... I forgot that I had my wings on, because we do have plenty of living quarters and workbenches up here. So we've got, a blacksmith shop, we've got some houses, we've got the baker, we've got the bridge that leads up towards the clock tower, but we've also got the lower section of the village down here, which again was still kind of the third phase of the entire project, where we've added the stables, the large crop farms, we've got a mill over here, a water mill. You can see the edge of the water wheel there. We'll try to get a better angle on that. And the windmill, along with the dock, the large tree house, and its suspended bridge there. And we've also got the lumber mill. And where you can still see the wall up there, that was kind of the extent of this third phase, where that wall comes around. So for the fourth phase, I started opening up the area up there on top of the hill. The fifth phase, I opened up further off to the east, where you can see the Wizard's Tower. So we're going to take a stroll over. We're unfortunately going to do this a little out of chronological order, but we're going to come over here to the windmill. And now we can see my little panda sanctuary. We can see the water wheel there. And we're going to come up here under the tree house, past the bee sanctuary that I've got, my greenhouse with my bee colony. And we're up here with the hedge maze and the Wizard's Tower. We'll see if we can't get just a little bit better of a vantage by coming up here onto the wall. There we go. So nice hedge maze, Wizard Tower, and then over here, as part of this kind of fifth phase of the project, we've added in an apothecary shop and an herbalist's home back here, and a little witch's hut made entirely out, well, no, I shouldn't say entirely, made predominantly out of mushroom blocks, because I just thought mushroom was appropriate for that. We're going to sleep through the night real quick. And we're going to head back up towards the clock tower. But again, I wanted to kind of give you a better on-the-ground idea of how this all fits together. It's really easy to fly around with the Elytra and talk about individual projects. But sometimes you kind of lose perspective on where everything is and how it's all related to one another. So we're going to come through the guard tower and walk along the remains of this border wall, our village wall, to our large arching bridge here. So this bridge comes up from next to the blacksmith's hut and the baker's shop. And you can see I still have a bit of a barrier here because, again, I've been trying to bring villagers up and keep them from just automatically wandering back down. So up here we have an inn, we've got a large barn and a home for some of the workers. We've also got, we've got the clock tower, we've got what is now the city hall. Much larger fountain than we had down below. The barn continues out with some extra buildings here, including a chicken coop. There's a pig pen behind the barn. We've got, you can hear the sheep in there. We've got a woolen farm. And then we have an Enderman who is coming back to visit the people in jail. And this is where we have our jail. So we've got a Ravager, we've got some Illagers, we've got a Witch, and some Drowned, and this is where our prisoners are held, or the mobs that are just too dangerous to release them under their own recognizance. Now, you may have just noticed that we have a nether portal in here, and this is where I'm going to show you a bit of the project that I've been working on lately. I've had kind of one large project I've been working on. I haven't had any new additions to the village itself since my last video. But we're going to pop in here. Now, if you have seen some of my previous videos, you'll know that I've had kind of an ice rail as well as a traditional minecart rail up here on the roof of the Nether for getting quick access to farther flung outposts. Some of the places where we've gone diving into ancient cities, some of them where we just needed access to other biomes, maybe like some snowy or icy biomes to get resources, that sort of thing. So because traversing distances in the Nether is a lot easier, well, it's a lot shorter than traversing the distance in the overworld. It's an 8-to-1 ratio. For every 8 blocks you go in the overworld, you go 1 block in the Nether. I was able to set up some kind of long transit lines here in the Nether that using a boat we can zip right along and actually make a lot of headway versus traveling in the overworld. Now, you may notice that this project is not finished here. In fact, it is going to be a long time before it is finished properly. But this particular hallway leads to the village. We have the portal down this hallway that leads to the front gate. There's a portal here that leads into the basement of the wizard tower that's in the middle of the hedge maze. Now, I do not claim that this is an original idea. In fact, I kind of got the idea for this entire build from Season 9 of Hermitcraft, and I believe it was Tango that was the one that did a lot of the work on their Nether transit network. It's not built to the same scale as theirs, and I've tried to customize some things a little bit. For instance, you'll notice that this main hallway is all using blue panel. This hallway uses white panels in it to indicate that this is a ghast farm at the other end. And then I've also got some patterning in these blocks that point in the direction of the village portals. So that if you wind up in this long blue hallway at some point and you just don't know which way you need to go to get home, we've just got a little bit of decoration in here that will point the way. So this has been the big project that I've been working on between the holidays and doing things with family and just making all the preparations that we need to. I've been able to get a little bit of time on my computer to work on that project. And of course, once I got the initial pattern down, just a couple of groups of sections of the wall, then I just can kind of repeat that pattern going on. It's more of a consideration of just having the time to do it rather than actually having to put the brain power into it. So we've kind of done an overview of the village here to hopefully give you a better idea of how everything's looking now. I figured, like I said at the beginning, that the end of the year is a good time to do a recap and show you just how far we have come from our beginnings. But one of the other things that I wanted to do, and this will require a little bit of flying, is I want to show you some of the things that other people in my family have been working on. So we're going to fly over this way. Now from this spot, we can see a couple of different things. My son was working on an underwater mansion at one point. We can also see a nice little covered bridge that my daughter's built to make it a little bit easier to get across over to my village. And of course, that was before I had expanded the village very far, when most of this area over here was just still kind of open land. So that bridge was actually one of the first like really nice builds over here in this area. And you may see some mangrove trees over here. I believe this was my wife's second base build that she did. And then, of course, I came along and added some mangroves to, well, actually just for fun, but it kind of gives the whole thing a bit of a swamp feel. And this is, she calls this her boathouse or houseboat, depending on whether she gets the word out right. But of course, there's a little dock out here that you can bring your boat right up to and get out and visit the house. And of course, I left a nice little rose for her one day as a surprise. But yeah, this was her base that she had built kind of away from the mountain peak, so that she could be kind of down here more on the ground level, because she had some building projects over in that direction, the lighthouse being one of them that she wanted to work on, and commuting to the top of the mountain every day was just getting a little tiresome. Now, coming over here, this is the village that my daughters started, with a tower of clay. I forget why the tower of clay is there, but it is. So this first, this is their storage area, and somebody left a Somebody left a shulker box full of fireworks here. So this was their storage area. This one, I believe this is the library. Is that correct? Yes. Now, I think, I'm not positive, I would have to double check with them, but I think the library here was built off of a tutorial that they followed. And again, I couldn't tell you whose tutorial. Let me get up here. Oh, we can. And we've got a nice little balcony up top. I think we're going to need to find a bed so we don't accidentally blow anything up with any creepers that spawn in. But there should be a bed right here. There we go. Next we have the potion maker's house, complete with a little stall out front for him to come out and sell his wares. And his own little garden. Here we are out at the stall. I hear somebody around. I don't know where they are. They're probably up top here. Yep, there he is. He's just hanging out. And then they built a golden arches here. This was I don't know, a little anachronistic, shall we say. It wasn't really a medieval themed restaurant, but it does look really cool. And I'm not sure if this was built off of a tutorial or if this was just something they came up with. But you notice we got plenty of restaurant seating up here, as well as the registers here where you can put in your orders. In order to keep their villagers safe from mobs, because of course this is not a walled-in compound like mine started off. They wound up blocking the doors just to keep the villagers from coming out. This was one that my older daughter was working on. I want to say I saw a similar tutorial to this by maybe Blue Nerd. I could be mistaken, but this is going to be a blacksmith shop. And there I was going around tossing in some armor stands just to surprise people at one point. And this is their librarian trading hall. So a lot of the books that we would make the most use of, they wound up getting villagers that sold those books and just tucking them away in there so that we always have a source where we can come and get things to enchant if we need to. And of course, we've got another portal here. Now, coming right off the back edge, we have one of my wife's builds. This was, I believe, based off of a resort in Bali, maybe? It's been so long, but we've got a little bit of a pool up here. I suppose I could have taken the stairs rather than climbing the vines, but got a little bit of a pool. And just kind of a nice little area here to, well, to sit and relax and do whatever it is that you would do when you're in a resort. We also had a little bit of a hut over here, I believe. Yep, we've got a little living area down this way. And that heads back into these caves. So one of the things that I know I've talked about this in other videos, but one of the things that my wife likes to do is she likes to find interesting architecture examples online and then try to recreate those in Minecraft. So over here we have the Dome of the Rock. Complete with a copper dome. And in fact, her copper dome here was one of the reasons I built my bee sanctuary, was to provide us with enough wax so that she could keep the copper dome from tarnishing. This was also where she was experimenting with glazed terracotta. And you can see different panels of the dome itself using various colors of glazed terracotta. And she's actually got, if I can remember, I think her stairs, yep, stairs are right over here. This is where she was experimenting with floor designs and trying out different styles, not just glazed terracotta, but different, like wood, copper, lapis, just some different things, seeing what sort of patterns she could come up with. And then we have a back entrance there. We've also got near here, and I will fly over quickly. This was another project of my daughter's that they set up over here. This is a creeper farm, where creepers generate inside the building. You can sleep or pass the time up here to be AFK. And then there's a stairway that leads down underneath where all the creepers get washed onto some campfires to kill them, and you can harvest the gunpowder. Over here is a large cave under this mountain that leads down to a skeleton spawning farm that they've built, so that once we get mending on all of our equipment, we can go down there and just harvest stacks of skeletons to get enough experience to repair all of our gear. So we've got the Dome of the Rock. One build that we saw from a distance earlier, which is up here, is a lighthouse. This is another one of my wife's projects where she found some architecture styles online that she liked, and she tried recreating them. And this is actually the back side of it. I gave her a little Jeb sheep in here one day just as a treat, and I forgot that I put a skulk sensor there as a bit of a prank. So we've got the lighthouse with the attached lighthouse keeper's home. And the top of the lighthouse is lit up. I hesitate to walk up just because it'll set off that shrieker again. But we can fly up here. And we've got redstone lamps lighting up the top of the tower. Now, down here, and these are kind of hidden, my wife made hobbit holes. And this was another one of her experiments, using pretty much just natural materials, using dirt, moss. She did use some concrete, but, no, well, minimal wood. And just trying to get them to really blend in to the landscape, which, honestly, if you come at this from any direction but head on, it's really difficult to tell that they're here. So a very simple interior design, but just these nice little huts that really blend in well with the surroundings. Now, I know I said I was wanting to give a bit more of a walking tour. Once we're out of the village, it's kind of tough to do that and get anywhere fast. This area, you may notice a lot of craters. This is where I've come to do thunderstorm harvesting when I want to try to get skulls. I have a excuse me, I have a trident that will summon lightning so I can make charged creepers and then try to get the creepers to explode and kill other mobs so that I can collect heads. And then you can just still barely see the lighthouse over there, and we're back over here to the village where we can see the manor and some other things that I've had built along the back side there. And then this is really the only other major part. This falls outside of the village, but I've been working on it as part of the village, is the road that will eventually connect my build area over with where my wife and my daughters have been working on their build areas. There we can see the clock tower. You can see some of the houses. And hopefully we can... I don't know if we're going to make it before mobs start spawning. I do not want them to... Yeah, don't want them to blow up my base at all. But here we are back at the front. Of course, I've got a little bit of dirt here because I was trying to catch a skeleton or a zombie to keep them from burning there. Oh, I just made it in time. He wanted to blow up my wall. Now, there is one other build that I wanted to show off, and this is actually something that my wife has been working on. This is the project that she's spent a bit of time over the winter holidays trying to get finished up. I don't think she's quite there, but we're going to pop back over here to our nether hub, and I will take the fast route here. So now you can get a little bit of an idea of how much more work I have to do on the nether hub. We've got ice rail here quite a ways out, and in fact this is kind of the shorter run of the ice rail. I've got much more on the other side that I need to complete. But on this portal, this is one of the portals that we set up to have access to an ancient city. And I'm just going to sleep and make sure we don't get any mobs attacking us while we're here. So down there where you can kind of see that marker, there's an ancient city buried way down there. But this is the build that my wife has been working on. I'm going to see if we can get a better vantage of this to give you an idea of the structure. This is based off of a library, I think in California. I would really need to ask my wife for sure. But she had been looking for some interesting new building that she could try to design in Minecraft. And we saw this one in a Google search one day where it has kind of a square base that then flares out as it goes up so that each higher floor is larger than the one beneath. And of course, you can see she's been putting a lot of work into this. We've got some stairs here. Let's see if we can. There we go. Again, she's working more on the overall structure of the building at the moment rather than trying to get, the interior work done. And I'm crouching just so we don't hear a lot of the cobbled deep slate stepping noise. It's kind of I don't know, it seems like it's a bit louder to me than just walking on other materials. Okay, there we go. For some reason I could not make that jump. So yeah, we get up here to the upper level, completely glassed in, but much larger floor space than the square footage down at the very base of it would lead you to believe. And of course, she made sure and left a little bit of a gap for the beacon. So folks, that is our kind of our year-end wrap-up of what we've been working on in this world. We still have a lot, or at least I know I still have a lot of things in mind that I'm going to be adding, especially onto the village itself. But as the village kind of runs up against the environmental constraints I have there with water and mountains and that sort of thing, I've got some plans for building outside of the village, and even in some of the locations like this, where we've got some expedition sites, as we call them, and maybe starting to build up some other villages out this direction. But I hope you've enjoyed this summary and just taking kind of a chill day to get a good idea of where everything has come in the last year that we've been building on this server. If you have any questions, any comments, anything you'd like to see more of, please go ahead and drop those in the comments below. I'd love to be able to show off anything that you want to see more of. If you have any suggestions for what I could do with the builds, please let me know. I'm always interested in learning and trying new things. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'd love to see you back for another one. If you'd like to get notified, go ahead and you can hit the subscribe there, and you'll get a notification when I upload videos. But I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch and to see everything that we've been working on in our Minecraft world. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.